Hey guys, what's up? Roger here, and welcome to TenMileCreations. So today we're going to take on the subject of Bambu's new firmware. And I want to give you a little bit of perspective if you're fairly new to 3D printing and should you be up in arms about this. First and foremost, we want to state that the 3D printing community was founded on open source. This is a huge thing to people that have been in 3D printing for a long time. Now, there are a new generation of 3D printer that wants to buy a product, use the product to create a product, and that's it. They don't want to fight with it. They don't want to have to tinker with it. They don't want to change parts. They don't want to do anything. They focus on the 3D printer just working. This open system, closed system debate really isn't, well, that important to them. At the end of the day, if they come in, they turn the machine on, they print, it creates the product for them. That's all that really matters. In contrast, we've got the open source community, and they're used to doing, well, whatever they want. They'll swap out parts, they'll put in aftermarket parts, they'll use whatever software, whatever firmware they want, and they really are free to tweak that system however they choose. Now, on that basis, Bambu is the devil. They are closed system. They can't change out any aftermarket parts for the most part. They can't run custom software. There is a ton of stuff that the open source community is not happy about. The reality of it is that if you've owned, a PlayStation, any Apple product for any amount of time, you are used to a closed system. You can't change things in that ecosystem. And they do that on purpose to protect the environment, to protect the user experience, and sometimes for security purposes. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm anti-open source. I'm actually very pro-open source. But if the company chooses not to be open source, I'm not really going to argue with them. It doesn't make sense. I love doing little projects with open source like this. The Raspberry Pi 5 in a 3D printed case. I even used a MOSFET to control some LED fans on the inside using the GPIO ports. This was a fun little project, and all based on open source. I actually used AI to write some of the code to make this thing do what I want it to do. Now that is fun. But at the end of the day, if a company brings a product to market and it's not open source, it's your choice to choose whether you want to be within their ecosystem or not. So if you bought a Bambu printer, maybe you bought 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe you're running a print farm. It's hard to tell. But the reality of it is if you buy the hardware, you use Bambu Studio, and you print, it'll just work. And whether it's open or closed source probably doesn't actually matter to you, because your focus is on creating products, printing those products, put them in a box, shipping them to your clients. So as long as you can go to Bambu's website and buy spare parts, and you can turn your printer on in the morning and print, and it creates products for you, and the profiles are already set up and you just turn it on and print, you're probably not going to have much of a problem with this. Now, Bambu, don't think you're going to get off scot-free on this. Even though I can't justify a closed system for the sake of the ecosystem, what I can't do is justify you not being crystal clear about what happens to our files once they leave the slicer and hit your cloud service. Are they cached? Because if they are, give us the option to turn it off. I understand in Bambu Handy, you want to give people the option to reprint their file, and that makes sense. But for designers like myself that create unique products, I don't want anybody else to have that file. And you need to give us the option to turn that off. Once it leaves the slicer and comes to my printer, it shouldn't exist anywhere else. It shouldn't remain cached anywhere or anyone else have access to it. Last thing I want as a designer is one of my products to show up somewhere being produced and sold on Amazon because it was part of your cache system. The reality of it is the cloud functionality for some of us isn't that important. We understand you want to keep the printer connected to you so you can send updates, send security patches. That all makes sense. But the function of the files themselves doesn't make sense. Why is it sent to the cloud? The LAN option shouldn't be a complete disconnect. The machine should be able to stay connected to your network for updates and security patches, but still be able to transmit the files directly from the slicer to the printer. There's no need for it to be connected directly to you. With the Bambu Handy app, I get that aspect of it. Yes, give people the option. Do you want us to cache these files? That way, if you want to reprint it, you can do that anytime you want. The vast majority of your people probably don't create their own products anyway. So it's not a security risk or a risk for them to lose something they've designed because they didn't design it in the first place. But you do have a large segment of your customer base, much like myself, that create products that are unique to us. And we want to ensure that those products don't end up in the hands of people that shouldn't have them. This is something you need to address with the community. As far as the rest of the open source debate, it really doesn't matter to me. I'm used to closed systems when it comes to other products, and as far as I'm concerned, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But what happens to my files is very important. All right, guys, well, that's my 2 cents about the debate. I'd love to hear from you. Jump in the comments and let me know what you think. But at the end of the day, I feel like as long as the printer functions and I know that my files are secure, I really don't care if it's open system or closed system. I enjoy open system printers and I have no problem with them. But if I also choose to use a closed system printer, I don't really have a problem with that either. Unless it becomes a security risk for the files that I've created that I want to keep private. So jump in the comments and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. All right, guys, later.